Hi and welcome to my channel. My name is Kim and this is Vlogmas Day 14. So I am a reader and a knitter, and for today I am going to be reading the 14th story in the Hingston and Olsen short story advent calendar. As well, I will be unwrapping a mini skein of yarn that's hand dyed from Polka Dot Creek, and it's part of their blanket club. I am also knitting Stephen West's blanket from his hyper knitting collection, and I will share my progress with you. So for now, let's get to the unveiling and find out what I'll be reading, reviewing, and knitting today. So today's short story is called Old Friends, and it's written by Paul Cressy. I've never heard of Paul Cressy. In his bio, it says he's a fiction writer based in Victoria, BC. Sorry for the fur baby shenanigans. At one time, he was a touring singer-songwriter, and he was nominated for a Canadian Folk Music Award. And he currently works at the Royal BC Museum. His first book, Exit Strategies, was published by Freehand Books in 2023, and this was written in 2023. So a new to me author, Canadian, I'm all for that. As for Polka Dot Creek, their yarn came wrapped up in pink tissue paper today. Every day is a different colored tissue paper, and every day is a different sticker. So things like all those added touches that are just so lovely. And this looks like an amazing cranberry. Red is one of my favorite colors. Oh, it's actually called cranberry. So good for them. That's amazing work. So I am going to get reading and knitting, and I will report back to you when I have some progress. So I'm beginning to feel like the Grinch who stole Christmas, because this is the second day in a row where I have not gotten along with the short story. But let me tell you about it first, and then I'll get into my reasons why. So this is told in the first person, in sections. It's set in Calgary, and the odd thing is that this little short story, which funnily enough is probably the longest short story out of the Advent calendar so far, but it takes place over decades and decades and decades. Over 30 years passes in the course of this book, which is a hard thing to maintain in a short story. So we find out that the story revolves around two people, the narrator and a gentleman by the name of Cole, and they just happen to meet at a hockey game because they purchased seats next to each other. A friendship forms while they're watching the game because they don't know anybody else, and they make conversation, exchange numbers, and so on and so on and so on. And then they don't see each other for another 15 years, which is very strange. And then 15 years passes by, and we learn that the narrator's name is Freddie, and he has been contacted by Cole, and he invites him to watch the Stanley Cup playoff at a local bar. Oh, by the way, this takes place mostly in Calgary. And Freddie goes to meet Cole at the bar and is very, very impressed by Cole's presence. Cole is dressed like a cowboy. He has a fancy buckle on, and he obviously knows the staff and secures them a booth in the restaurant, which I know everyone's not Canadian, but if you are Canadian securing a spot in a restaurant during the Stanley Cup finals, you've got to be a good customer to make that happen. And it is a very lengthy, very Canadian hockey scene. They're watching the final, and the interesting thing about this is the writer has them playing the opposing team of the Canadians, and there is such a rivalry between sort of Canada and Quebec, especially when it comes to hockey. They even joke about drinking their beer as well. Anyways, everyone's having a good time, everyone's having fun, and at the end, Cole takes them a couple of blocks down and breaks into the Saddle Dome. Now, I was a little critical of this scene because I wish that there had been more description of the Saddle saddle dome because I'm Canadian. I don't know that much about the saddle dome and what it looks like. And if someone from across the pond was reading this, they would probably have no idea what it was. So I wish that there was more context built into that instead of the very lengthy hockey scenes, which, as a Canadian, I'm very familiar with. And they break into the saddle dome, and Cole challenges him to go up into the rafters and look down on the people who are celebrating the victory of the hockey team. And it's at this point that Cole reveals things about himself, because we pretty much don't know anything about him and very little about Freddie as well. But he reveals that he lost a brother who died early on, and that the belt buckle he has on was won by his father, who was very, very good at what he did, but Cole could never live up to that. So they lose touch again. Freddie gets married, he has kids, and another 15 years go by. Now, the 15-year span has been mentioned twice, but I didn't understand the connection, to be honest. Maybe 15 minutes, I think 20 minutes are periods in hockey. Yeah, 20 minutes. So I still am baffled by why he put 15 minutes in. Anyway, or 15 years in. So we learned that Freddie's had 2 kids. They're 7 and 9, and he takes them to the Stanley Cup game. And it is very disappointing for Freddie. He doesn't have the same experience that he had with Cole in the other 2 games. His kids even fall asleep. It goes into overtime for period after period after period, and he's bored, and he starts reflecting back on the good times that he had with Cole. And then he goes home and he finds Cole waiting for him. And Cole asks him to do something that he shouldn't. And I'm going to stop telling you about the plot at this point because I don't want to spoil anything. But I didn't find the ending at all believable. I didn't think that their relationship was believable. I don't think that 2 people who have only seen each other twice over 30 years, who have only watched 2 hockey games together, are ever going to have this friendship or be old friends. Which gets back to the title, because if I don't, as a reader, believe that they're old friends, the title doesn't work either. So that's essentially my thoughts on that. I'm sure tomorrow will be a bright and better day. I still would give this advent calendar a 2 thumbs up, and just because there's been 2 days of not so great short stories doesn't mean that there isn't going to be more. So I will show you some of my progress on Stephen West's blanket. I am loving the stripes, so we're into the 3rd stripe, and we're just building colors and building colors. And the interesting thing about this pattern is that you can make it any size you want. I've chosen to knit the medium one, but there's an option for small and there's an option for large. And the large one looks like it would literally be a bedspread for a king-sized bed. So that's it for my reading and knitting today. If you are so inclined, please like and subscribe and comment in the comment section below. Let me know how you're doing, what you're reading. Has anything disappointed you lately? What are you looking forward to in the holiday season? I've also set up a Patreon account, so if you're so inclined and you can put a tip in a tip jar, I very much would appreciate it. But regardless, I so appreciate you spending your time with me. This is so enjoyable for me, and I hope that you join me tomorrow for Vlogmas Day 15.